Yes, welcome to the Variety Hour. Back on a Thursday with the greatest comedian living, as he just said to me a moment ago, Danny McGinlay.
G'day, Titus.
How are you, Danny?
It's good to be back. We've been sporadic since it's like with Francis being away.
Well, I was crook last week, and then we got back on the horse, so to speak, with Serge and I on Monday.
Back on the heroin. Back on the. You're looking good, but just stop trying to give up, mate. You're an addict. That's who you are. We forgive you.
That's right. I was in a facility.
Yeah, we had to have an intervention where we was like, dude, shoot up again.
We had to go to you always have to do what the footballers do, they always go to like Phoenix or LA for they never do, or it's somewhere in Asia as well.
We sent you to Afghanistan.
They sent me to Frankston. So, anyway. Well, it's good to have you back. And we don't have Francis back yet because we don't know if he's going to make it back from Russia at all, do we?
He said he would be back, but he may have misspoke, so maybe he won't be back.
Because he on Twitter, this was a week and a half ago or something, when something was in full swing, he tweeted at me about bagging Melbourne. So I tweeted back, aren't you the guy that hates Vladimir Putin? This is while he's in Russia.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard from him since. He didn't even like that tweet.
He said something about Slava Ukrainska. He said he's fighting on the Eastern Front.
I'm quite willing to stitch up a mate that ends up for years in a prison.
In a gulag.
In a gulag.
Siberia.
It's fine. That means you've won that interaction.
Well, don't bag another mate's footy team.
I think it was when we lost to St Kilda, so he was well within his rights.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough.
And I tend to bag Melbourne a lot too, so I can't really turn around and. Now we should before we get started, I am about to go on tour for a range of things. Now we announced this tour about a week or so ago. Starting off in Hobart, so Hobart's a bit earlier than the others. It's the 4th of August, so that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So,
is this your buy-round tour?
Some of it is. The Hobart, I just hadn't been to Hobart before.
All right, where are you playing? Polish club? Jokers?
Jokers.
Yeah, nice, great club.
So I hadn't been down there before, so I'm going down to do a show there. That's almost sold out, that first one. So if you want to come along to that one in Hobart, I would get on quickly and
do it, Hobart.
Buy tickets because that will sell out. It's just it's not a huge. I think it's about 120 seater. So if you want to come along. As Kenneth said, if you don't get behind and support me, I'm out.
Oh,
that's what he told the Tasmanians about Hawthorn. And then they lost to Brisbane, so not really the best approach.
Yeah, I would have got up and left.
The Tasmanians went, yeah, go, whatever, we don't care. So I'm doing the 4th of August. Then I kick off on the 27th of August. I'm doing Street Theatre in Canberra. 29th of August, the Octagon Theatre in Perth, which I did last year. That's a great venue, actually. And that one is selling really quickly in Perth. Thank you, Perth. I'm also doing the Comedy Store in Sydney at 31st of August. I do the Comedy Store up there usually once a year. It's good to go up there. The Athenaeum Theatre in Melbourne on the 1st of September. And then the Arkabar Hotel on the 2nd of September. So heading back there. This is a new show, not the one I just did in Adelaide. And a lot of people in Brisbane have complained that I'm not doing a show in Brisbane. I am doing a show in Brisbane. I just don't have the date yet. But I should have the date within a week's time.
What venue are you doing there? Sit down?
I think it might be the sit down, but I'm not 100% sure yet. That's what we were just...
Do that sit down. The sit
down. Well, I've done that before.
Yeah, it's a great
So
venue.
I like that as a venue. So, but it's about availability, Danny, and getting the size right and all that.
I'll get you the sit down. Don't you worry.
Well, I did the sit down last time and we had a good time there. So anyway, I will be doing Brisbane. So don't yell at me, Brisbane people on the interwebs.
I think isn't there a lot of Brisbane yelling at you for doing a show? Aren't they just quite happy for you to stay away?
Yeah, no, they're like, phew.
Yeah.
I know, it still shocks me that people are annoyed I'm not coming. So anyway, I'm not the AFL. I haven't forgotten you exist, Brisbane. I just haven't got a date. Now, you've got some dates coming up, we should add.
Well, very soon. I fly to Perth tomorrow, being Friday, what is it tomorrow?
What's the date today?
What's the date today?
The 19th of July.
Yeah, so 20th and 21st of July, I'm doing the Comedy Lounge in Perth and the Fremantle Little Creatures on Saturday night.
Oh, when you say you're doing that on Saturday night, you're doing comedy there, or are you just heading out?
Both, And then all because Titus, I know every Bulldogs fan's going to be jealous. I, ladies and gentlemen, am going to see the Dogs v Eagles on Sunday. I'm going to be there for our first game at Perth Stadium, apart from that time we played the Dockers.
Right.
It's going to be epic.
Yeah, you'll do really well.
Oh, yeah, I'm very, very confident.
So that's all our big plugs. So come and see both of us separately.
Yeah, we're not allowed to tour together. It's like the guys who know the Coca-Cola recipe. Can't ride on the same plane.
So I love to see people come along to that. That should be fun. And every moment of every week that goes by, as I start to turn my mind to this end of year sort of review of the season, something new happens. So we've had the Bomber Thompson stuff.
Yeah.
Then we have Barry Hall.
Yeah, this is going to be out of date by the time you finish.
No, because it's a recap, and there's always more stuff that happen.
That's true. AFLX, we talk about that? Remember when the Demons won?
It's going to be a 45-minute rant on AFLX, and then I'll move on to a few other topics quickly before. Imagine that. He did go on about AFLX a lot.
Well, it's the only trophy Melbourne have won since 1987.
Oh, it's amazing.
Your tattoo's looking very good. I was cynical good at the time.
Somewhere when I went to the, I think it was a family day or something they had, and someone was talking about they were going to present the AFLX trophy.
Brilliant.
And I don't think they actually did. I think someone made that up, but the rumour went around pretty quick, and people were like, oh, it'd be good to see it. And I'm like,
I remember when the Bulldogs made a replica trophy of the 1954 grand final. This is 2004, 50 years later, because we won a flag. We didn't win a cup back then. So they made a replica one, and they presented it to Charlie Sutton. And it was against Melbourne at the MCG.
Yeah.
We beat you. And then, it was like a Sunday afternoon. There was hardly anyone there. But I still got up and cheered, thinking, this might be the only time I see the Dogs lift the cup.
Remember when St Kilda won the pre-season comp? I think it was the Wizard Cup at the time.
Like 96?
Yeah, and Grant Thomas refused to smile.
Yeah, that's right. They held it up.
He just went, and he got that. And then everyone just realised later on, everyone thought that was like this really significant message he was sending about the job isn't done,
Yep.
We then, since then, have just realised he's a miserable bastard. And that's just how he reacts to everything.
Yeah. It was the best day of his life.
Yeah, that's right. Really, when you think about it, probably was his peak. It's been all downhill since.
Hey, it must have been 04 because 96 was still Stan Alves. Sorry to all the St Kilda nerds out there.
Yeah. Now, a story that kind of came out this week that surprised me, and I'm sure it surprised you. Usain Bolt is being proposed to trial at the Central Coast Mariners in the A-League Cup.
I've seen this bloke attached to Manchester United, the West Indies cricket team, and now he's peaked. Central Coast Mariners.
I know, it's sort of like a guy's got a dream and it's so bad, the dream. It's like if you could have anything you want in the world, what would you have? And the guy's like, I'd have a McHappy Meal. Like, no, lift your eyes, mate. Lift your eyes.
It's literally a dream. It's quite surreal. He goes, I want to... what's his accent? Jamaican.
This is not going to go well.
All right. He says, I just want to play in a place where there's a nice beach and everyone's relaxing and there's giant condiments. That's what I want.
Because it's the home of the Master Foods mascots.
The big sauce bottles.
Yeah, who got in a fight with the fans that time, which was one of my favourite stories from, I think, last year, wasn't it? It was.
Sounds about then.
I still remember because they had barbecue sauce and tomato sauce. And tomato sauce was kind of chilled, but barbecue sauce was giving the finger to the opposition fans.
It's the fiery flavour of Master Foods barbecue.
Yeah, and then the Master Foods spokesperson had to put out a statement, and they said, while the Master Foods brand always encapsulates football on the Central Coast, and you're like, what? It said the behaviour of the barbecue sauce bottle does not align with our corporate values or something. It was like one of the great. It was like one of the great. Like, imagine you've gone to uni to do media and communications. You've gone, you got this dream job, whatever, and then you have to write a sentence that says, the barbecue sauce bottle giving the finger to a bunch of A-League fans is not our corporate values. And you're like, oh, sorry, I thought they were your corporate values. Thank you for clarifying.
I would love to take that sentence and then go back in time and show Oscar Wilde or J.R. Tolkien and just say, this is what people write about in the future.
It's such a weird thing. Like, I love when there was another one where I've just finished. I was telling you before we went on. I've just finished my second book. So
it's very exciting.
After the publisher for, well, now it goes into editing, so that's where I'm looking forward to the lawyers reading this one, is all I'm going to say.
It's a big change from your last book. I mean, about the boy wizard, I told you it had been done before.
It's a cross between Harry Potter and 50 Shades of Grey. I just went and I just Googled what are the biggest selling books of all time, and I'm just trying to combine them. Is that wrong?
A boy wizard getting whipped by a snake.
By a businessman. Is that wrong?
No. I think it's a real page turner.
But there was a great bit when I was looking at the ball tampering scandal, and a bit.
This does sound.
This is not to do with my 50 Shades of Harry book. I just have to write this now. I'm going to pitch it. You know what? The worst would be it'd probably sell. Like, I'll probably get a book deal for a minute I put this podcast up. I'll have people contacting me. But so anyway, when the ball tampering stuff happened over in South Africa, all the corporates on the Monday after the Sunday had happened they all got asked, what are you going to do? And they all had to issue statements, and they all issued statements condemning the cheating, you know. Mm-hmm. And Weet-Bix put out one of the great ones where because they sponsored Steve Smith directly.
Yeah.
And they said, you know, they basically said, you know, we at Weet-Bix have never condoned cheating in sport. And I just thought, why would you feel the need to put on record if you're Weet-Bix that like anyone is sitting there going, well, I bet they're for cheating on sport.
Yeah.
And then the statement comes out and you go, I was wrong.
Well, did they withdraw the sponsorship?
I think they did, yeah.
You don't have to say it. They should have had a dig at their
opposition. They did that late,
They should have said, we at Weet-Bix never condone cheating sport. Vitabrits love it.
Unlike those...
They sponsor Lance Armstrong.
Like those dirty dogs at Vitabrits. But that's what I just love. I thought, well, thankfully we now know that Weet-Bix... you know, because I've often stared at a box of Weet-Bix in the morning going, where do you stand on cheating in sport? Like... No one looks at these brands and thinks these things, but they feel this need to set us straight on them. It's one of the great... and so the Master Foods one is probably the best.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a future book. It's probably not long enough, but to go and collect all the things sponsors have had to say in response to sporting scandals.
It should be like on the back of coasters in pubs, and you just hand it out.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then people have to guess the scandal.
Yeah, that's right.
That should be under like Carlton Draft lids.
Yeah, who said this? Weet-Bix. That's a Carlton Draft question. What breakfast cereal does not support? Does not support
Vitabrits. Oh, crap! So do you reckon it's because Master Foods are so anti... What was the actual wording?
Well, they said that the actions of the barbecue sauce bottle did not reflect their corporate values.
Do you reckon that's what brought Usain in?
Then he went, yeah, well, that is I want to party with barbecue sauce bottle.
No, he said, I'm just not sure about that barbecue sauce. Hang on a minute.
Hang on, it's not reflective of the culture there.
All right, I will play.
Because these are giant tomato sauce bowls and barbecue sauce bowls with people in them that like, instead of having real mascots, that's what they've got up there.
Well, what could you do with Mariners? Just have like wharfies, guys with beanies and stubby shorts. Who use sex workers. What other cliches are there about wharfies?
then they're like working the docks, smuggling stuff in.
Yeah. It's that, yeah, you have the guys from season 2 of The Wire.
It's sort of like a morality play happening on the sidelines. You know,
we'll go with the sauce.
They're going to war with the Patrick Stevedores, you know.
And then they would have had to release... This does not reflect...
the
action of the wharfies.
Anyway,
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt. So apparently it's a 6-week trial that they're looking at, and amazingly, because there's been all this publicity about it, because it got worldwide huge coverage that Usain Bolt... I think this could be right up there when Israel Folau and Carmichael Hunt went over to the AFL and the success that had.
Except they played at the highest level of Australian rules football, whereas Bolt's playing in A-League, the 5th highest level.
It's not the highest level.
It's top 5, definitely.
So apparently, because it's been announced, and it just if you sign Usain Bolt, and you're a club like the Mariners, you're not like, Manchester United or Chelsea or, one of the...
And it's a
big,
trial.
or Juventus or something that actually has a chance to win stuff of a big nature. They, just by having him in there, the sales, the attention, the marketing, all that is worth it. So apparently clubs now who've seen all this media, teams in Turkey, Hungary and the US have all entered the race.
Oh, what?
For him.
No, we're going to be left with some Debbie Flintoff king.
So apparently some of them are keen to offer him a contract straight away rather than put him through a trial, as the Mariners intend to do. So the Mariners are actually suddenly appearing like semi-sensible compared to a bunch of... They were like the mate you thought was crazy until you met his mates.
Yeah.
And you go, well, Derek actually is the reasonable one.
And that's a trial that, so they're expecting Usain Bolt to live in Gosford for 8 weeks and then just go, well, I hope I can stay.
I hope I can live here forever. Maybe he wanted to be there because it's just a bit more relaxed than being in a Sydney or a Melbourne.
Where does he live normally? Is he in London? Is that right?
No idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
He hasn't had me over. Central Coast CEO Sean Muircamp is going to fly over to London in an attempt to get Bolt to sign the deal, basically. Yep. Now, some people are, surprise, surprise, dismissing this as a brazen publicity stunt.
Hang on.
The FF, for the Football Federation of Australia, they've been asked to put in about $900,000 from their marquee player fund if Bolt is successful in his trial and actually is going to be signed. They've been a little cool on that idea.
Really?
They're
still paying off John Travolta from 2006.
Did you see they're looking for Peter Couch?
I did.
Because they missed out on... who were they going for?
I know Victory are going for Honda, the Japanese guy.
Yeah, awesome. They were going for some other Premier League star, and I'm trying to remember who it was, and that fell through. So, yeah. They always seem to sign people who are like 41.
Well, yeah. That's the life cycle of the English footballer is you start at a small club and then you go to one of the big four and then you might go to a mid-table, an Aston Villa or Stoke or something, and then you go to America.
Yeah, it used to be the US,
Australia,
a lot. Yeah,
and then
China's taking a lot now because they got the money.
Yeah, China's good. Yeah.
A lot going there just because of that. So, do you think this is a brazen publicity stunt?
Yeah, but let's still do it.
You're all for brazen.
It'd be great fun. I'd go watch Usain Bolt do a run around for Central Coast Mariners. I mean, if he was playing for a real club, I'd be worried, but it's just the Mariners, I think.
Would you want him at the Victory?
No.
We don't know much about his actual footballing ability.
No.
We all know he's going to be fast.
Yeah. So,
but it's another thing.
I wouldn't put it past Central Coast Mariners to play him as a goalkeeper.
The thing is, he'll be quick, but sprinting is very different than running for 90 minutes.
Yeah,
it's a completely different set of skills.
Yeah, let's give it a go.
You reckon?
Yeah, why not? Usain, you're in.
The other thing that's come out this week, it's heating up, you could say.
Is it?
And this is new rules for the AFL that have been discussed.
Is this actually getting traction?
Well, yeah. Oh. Now, what a lot of this is Steve Hocking, who's the who replaced football operations manager at the AFL, 2IC, the AFL, and replaced Simon Lethlean. He is talking about bringing in a range of changes, including starting positions at stoppages and returning to the gold square, and returning the gold square to its 18-metre glory as it was in the 1860s.
18-metre goal square?
Yeah, that's what apparently was in the
What's that going to do?
1860s.
Why would you do
His
that?
idea is, I think some people are going to have to stay in there until for the whole game. No, at centre bounces and stuff, they've had people in the 50 metres and stay. So it's all the... he's calling it increase the bubble, so less people around the ball, basically. Yeah. Now, it's been interesting, the reaction to this. Damien Hardwick came out and said that the AFL want more scoring, obviously, and less of a grind. Now, funnily, since they started talking about this, I think the last 2 to 3 weeks of football have been really good.
Yeah.
So as always, I think if you leave the game alone for a little bit and not do a knee-jerk reaction like the AFL do to everything, the coaches work out and players work out ways around certain problems. But they're desperate to sort of do this. Hardwick said that it's fine if you want to see more goals, but what they haven't thought of is if you actually open it up like they're planning, you'll actually probably see more blowouts because the good teams aren't going to get worse and the worst teams aren't going to get better. It's just going to be the good teams can just run it out. Good midfielders.
Well, there has been a lack of blowouts for a long
time. There was earlier in the year.
I'm talking proper blowout. Remember back when Geelong used to routinely get over 200 points?
Yeah. We haven't. It's been. I mean, the scoring is down this year, but we've had some pretty one-sided games earlier in the year. So
that at least makes it interesting. Can they get over 200? Can they? 239 has been the record for I think.
Now Nathan Buckley
years. Came
out and said that the idea of zones and starting positions would be a blight on the game.
Did he have his beard when he said this?
No.
Then I don't care. Mate, you're wrong. What the hell would you know, Bucks? Get out.
Do you link Collingwood losing this week directly to him not having a beard?
100%. There is no other logical explanation for it. Bucks with a beard, what a legend. Yeah, well, he's man of the people.
He wasn't a good coach without a beard.
No, now
in the past.
Now he's back to his old pointy chin evil ways.
Do you think he's regrowing it?
Oh, he better be. Because with the beard, he's Ned Kelly, people's hero. Without the beard, he's Gargamel from the Smurfs.
See, I think the beard makes him look like he's the sort of guy that's seen things. Yeah. And you can follow into battle.
There you go. That's good as well.
This guy, where the shaved Buckley looks like sort of a Marine, but you kind of look at it and go, this guy doesn't know what is too perfect.
Yeah.
But the bearded guy, you go, this guy's lived.
Yeah, let's follow him. Let's follow him and then listen to his bush poetry.
Let's put a Billy on the fire and listen to him. So Hardwick says he'll just create more scoring. Buckley says it's a blight. Mm-hmm. Malcolm Blight.
Hang on. It's a blight on football.
Malcolm Blight in response, funnily enough, said that football.
Is he like the Candyman? You say his name?
Yeah, he said that football's turning into a tainted product. And he said that if Nathan Buckley doesn't like this, he can go and get another job.
Here that has to stay in order for me to believe you or not.
Well, Blight came out and basically said that Buckley should go and get another job if he doesn't like it. These changes are coming. Now, that doesn't. I mean, I think that's a bit over the top, isn't it? Do you like starting positions or not?
No, I don't. No.
And zones?
No, don't like it. No
need
for it.
I think all these. See, my theory is Steve Hocking has never met a dumb idea he doesn't like.
Well, he wants to get rid of runners.
But it's not just... this guy's come up with, in his 6 months in the job, he's come up with more crazy ideas that he's considering than all his predecessors put together. And that's saying something.
Yeah.
It's like he just floats these ideas out there and then they go into a trial and you're like, really? Like, you look at this season. This season started off, everyone's like, this is a terrible season, it's boring. You let it go a few weeks. It's suddenly been great football the last 3 weeks, I reckon. And then you look at it now, you've got 4 or 5 teams that are in the mix to get into the 8. So, Hawthorn are in the mix. You've got...
you've got everyone above the Bulldogs, pretty much.
Everyone above the Bulldogs. No, but you've got Adelaide that are still in there. They're fighting D's, hard. The D's Kangas could drop in or out. Kangas. So you've got no certainty necessarily. West Coast suddenly seem prepared to turn around. So top four's not set. So it's actually been a pretty exciting season. It's going to, I reckon, be a really good finish. So, and some of the top games between the top teams have been absolutely terrific. So all these things, I just think it's such an overreaction. For what it is. And, you're talking about fundamental changes to the game, not small ones. Zones worries me more than starting positions, but I think starting positions are just...
It's a bit too gridiron for me. I don't like this.
I fear change.
Exactly. Well, are you in favour of a moratorium on no rule changes for 5 years?
Oh, I don't know. I think I like a practical approach, right? So if there's something that starts happening that's like dangerous to players, or so that we've seen attempts to, like, they've got tougher on things like, things around the head and things like that. So you never know what's going to come up. And the sliding rule's an attempt to fix a dangerous position, which I don't think it really has worked that well. But so I'm not against some rule changes, and obviously sports that don't change their rules ever to keep it looking good, there is precedent of that ends up being very bad for them. So rugby union is the closest to what it was when it was invented, and because it was a amateur sport and the people that played all funded it themselves for many years, they didn't need to appeal to crowds or the TV.
Right.
So they didn't bring in many laws to make it a more free-flowing, good-looking game. It was about how fun it was to play, basically, and tradition. League brought in a range of ones. They had less players so that it was less congested. They brought in the limited tackle rule to make it more free-flowing, and even playing the ruck instead of being a contested ruck. Yeah. So they brought in all these rules to actually appeal to spectators more. So that goes back 100 years, and same with AFL. AFL's always done it. So I don't have a problem with them doing this stuff, but I think some of the ideas being thrown around, zones and starting positions, are a little bit like, it's like it's like a nuclear bomb to kill a fly, you know what I mean? Yeah. I just think it's a bit too over the top. And I think some of the rules, if the umpires just actually enforce them properly, so holding the ball or prior disposal, I think some of those existing rules, if they're actually maybe actually enforced a little bit more. Yeah. Like the amount of times the ball gets knocked out in a tackle, or it's called it was knocked out in a tackle, when really the player just
dropped it.
Just
fumbled it.
The minute they got hit, they knew they weren't going to be able to get a hand off, so they sort of just drop it. And they go, if you could do things with that would probably just enforce existing rules that would do just as much as bringing in starting positions, which is a whole thing, which is the umpires are just going to get that wrong. Imagine the reviews. Oh, we want to review whether he was in the starting,
Oh, God. Yeah,
nightmare.
Yeah.
But Patrick Dangerfield and Luke Hodge both want starting positions brought in.
Did they?
Luke Beveridge doesn't.
Well, then, hang on, did Bevo have a beard?
He had a beard, so...
I'm on Bevo's side.
Brad Scott is more interested in it than not. So, they're all... This is going to be a war. There's going to be a breakaway competition.
Man. This is like when Iron Man and Captain America disagreed.
It's exactly that. It's AFL Civil War.
Oh, no. The AFL Union and AFL League. Oh, no.
I know. This is the end of the game as we know.
We're all watching Melbourne Storm. Oh, God.
Tom Elliott's come out this week.
It came out? Good. Wow, I did not see that coming. Good on him.
No, this is about something very serious.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Tom Elliott came out and gave an absolute whack on his radio, on Tom Elliott's radio show on 3AW here to Mark Ludice, who is the president of Carlton. He gave a huge thing saying he's an invisible president and he rules with absolute power, sort of basically insinuating he's a dictator.
Oh, okay.
He says that what kicked this all off is two board members stepped down recently. Their terms have ended and two new ones got appointed. Mm-hmm. But it didn't go to members for a vote because the AGM's not till the end of the year.
Right.
That's actually standard practice. It's in the club constitution, right?
Yeah, I've been a member of the Bulldogs for most of my life. I don't remember ever being asked to vote on a board member.
Oh, you are if you go to AGM.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I only remember getting invited to an AGM in the last 5 years.
Really?
It always sort of like, is there an AGM? And you'd ring.
So they don't Melbourne are pretty good. They always tell you if there's one on, and that you get plenty of
notice.
But
you guys have come from a corporate background and suits. Like Bulldogs can't even spell AGM, so
they just call it a bingo night. Is that what they do?
Most of our fans don't even know.
Win a meat truffle and vote for the. Yeah. So it's all. So Tom's attacked him for he just put these two board members in. I think Tom wanted him to be.
Oh, is this it? Right. So he's saying this Carlton president is a dictator, and I should know. My dad was a brilliant dictator.
Well, this is the thing. I kind of feel like, hello, history.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to put the sins of the father onto the son.
Yeah.
But...
Well, when George W. got in, he was, it was a bit slightly worse.
So, John Elliott didn't exactly leave Carlton in great space.
No, that's a fair call.
In fact, if you wanted to purposely go out and destroy a club, you couldn't have done better than what John Elliott actually did, I think.
How did John Elliott get a stand named after him at Princess Park?
Well, he says that what happened with Carlton is Waverley was being decommissioned over time and they were going to move to Docklands.
Yeah.
And Elliott got in his head that we could be the second
and he built
stadium,
the Legend Stand.
so we're going to invest in it. Now, the problem was the AFL wasn't for it and none of the other clubs wanted to help Carlton because he thought if we have it as instead of Eddie had its Princes Park, we'll get revenue for clubs having to play here.
Yeah.
All the other clubs went, nah, we're not doing that for you. And AFL had already committed to Docklands. So he decided, well, stuff you, I'll go ahead anyway and build the big stadium, the
Legend Stand.
The Legend Stand and all that, which he says someone then made him name it after him.
Someone made
He didn't even want it, but it was sort of foisted on him.
God, that is...
And then, of course, what happened is that became a white elephant around, and I think in 1 year they had like about a $4 to $5 million write-down on those stands.
Hang on, what's a write-down to us muggles?
So in accounting, just basically writing off the value of it because it's sitting there as an asset that's bringing in... It's not worth anything and it's not bringing in any revenue. So they had all that happening. And then he also got caught with the salary cap cheating where they got all the huge penalties. Now, that was actually, I think, either the fourth or fifth time in about 5 years they'd been caught salary cap cheating. So they had several chances to stop salary cap cheating.
Yeah.
And some of the earliest sentences or penalties had been suspended. So saying if you don't do it again, these won't come in.
Yeah.
Yet they do the biggest one towards the end, get caught. So all the previous draft picks and fines and stuff all kick in because they've been suspended, but now they get brought in. So it's not like Carlton under Elliott wandered in and just made a mistake. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of portrayed sometimes like that, but it was a systematic, ongoing, over years program of cheating the salary cap. Plus, he built these stadiums when everyone was saying, the AFL was saying don't do it, and all the other clubs saying we won't play there, and he still did it. So it's so then when Tom comes in, he's got that baggage, rightly or wrongly, coming in with him. Now, I think Ludich's there's a lot of criticism that he's not being public enough. I don't necessarily
I couldn't tell you what he looks like.
I've met him a couple of times. What he has inherited was he inherited a board that was too big and stacked with powerful factions. He's got that board from being about 11 or 12 people onto 8, much more manageable. He's dealt with a lot of that factional stuff to the best of his ability. He's got Bolton on board, who I actually think will be a good coach, but he's been handed absolute rubbish. Yep. He's got the off-field stuff actually being... For the first time ever, that club is not trying to chase a Messiah. I was going to say Mariah, because we all want a Mariah.
We do.
A Messiah, and... So, they're actually having to do the hard work of actually becoming a proper modern football club.
Yeah.
And everyone's reacting to it like they are terrible on the field. Mm. But you kind of, what else do you expect them to do? No one really wants to go there. They've got Kerno, they've got Cripps, they've got the basis of some actually good players. So what do people want Ludic to be out every day singing and dancing?
I heard some Carlton supporters genuinely worried about Cripps' long-term mental health. They would genuinely say, this club will kill him. Yeah, well, that's like what Melbourne players, supporters feel about Nathan Jones over the years. But then, so when you look at it, what do you expect Ludic to be out doing, singing and dancing every 5 minutes? I actually like club presidents that you see less of rather than more of. You didn't see heaps of Andrew Newbold when he was running Hawthorn. You see Eddie. You see Eddie all the time. You see Kennett all the time. You see Peter Gordon, and you could argue that while sometimes that's beneficial, it also has its downsides. Yeah, it's not always a massive success. You don't see Peggy O'Neill everywhere.
No, exactly.
And the only reason I know her is because they won the flag and she has made some public appearances. But I couldn't tell you the
No, but she doesn't wade in every 5 minutes defending the direction of the club and all that
Admittedly, you don't have to at the moment at Richmond.
But they did for a long time, and Gale would do a lot of it, as CEO, true. And that was... So I just think there's a bit of a... I think going with Trigg was a bad... If you had to actually point at problems that are in the president's... purview, which is not list management, to be honest.
Yeah, so is it at Carlton?
At Carlton, right. You'd say hiring Stephen Trigg was a mistake. Mm. you know.
What did he do? I don't pay attention to Carlton.
Well, Stephen Trigg
just pretending for 10
he came
seconds
from
going,
he looked at me like
he
he was the one that got caught with the cheating around the dodgy contract for Kurt Tippett at Adelaide.
Oh, okay.
Got suspended for 6 months.
And they brought him in after that.
And they still brought him in after that. So anyway, it's kind of interesting Tom won in, but you can't really whack a guy because he's following the club constitution.
Was Tom
because a
Elliott
dictator wouldn't... He's saying that he can't believe these two directors have been appointed without going to the members, but the club constitution actually says that this is how it's meant to happen. Right? And then, you know, eventually all the directors will have to face a vote, but if it's before the AGM, this is how it happens in a lot of clubs. So a dictator wouldn't follow the constitution. So you can't call someone a dictator for following the constitution.
How am I pronouncing?
Ludice.
Was Ludice elected with the mantra of drain the swamp?
Yeah, that's right. Make Carlton great again.
They're at that point where that should be their phrase.
But Carlton's problems are of their own making. I mean, they should have never moved. They should have never moved from Brett Ratton like they did to Malthouse. That set them back 5 to 10 years.
Oh man,
the trades Malthouse did. I mean, Malthouse is the architect of a lot of these mistakes, and that happened under Kernahan and it happened. They all once again they got sick of doing the long term plan and went. No, let's just get Malthouse in, and then he brought in Daisy Thomas on huge money and all this stuff, and it just.
It is hilarious. Let's not forget that. This is funny. But yeah, I remember with Ratton, the week before he got sacked because he lost to Gold Coast. And they'd already set this up. The week before, they beat the Bombers by over 100 points.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
so that was weird. And also, I remember there was a special on Fox Footy about the coaches. And they interviewed all of the coaches about what their day-to-day lives and everything. And I remember they asking, one of the questions was, how many hours do you spend logging a game? And so Clarko's there going, probably about 72 hours. I think Laidley was there at the time, and he's going, probably about 40 hours or whatever. And they cut to Malthouse, and he went, why would I do that? I was there. I saw the game. Next question.
We didn't do that in my day.
Nah, I missed it. I accidentally taped Channel 9. Forgot to play and record.
I did watch the Storm game. The Sydney Swans have accepted a first and final warning. I like that.
Was this from Virgin Australia? This is the first and final boarding call.
I like that first and final. You're straight through. From the AFL in relation to their runner Jeremy Laidler, who spent a lot of time on the ground in the dying minutes of the game against North Melbourne.
Yeah.
The AFL sent the club a please explain after he failed to get off the ground quickly enough after delivering a message and found himself near a North Melbourne player standing in space between a Ford 50 stoppage. Now, to me, this is not an uncommon thing to occur.
Like the runner's been in. It is hard for him because you can't predict where the ball's going to be.
But there's a lot that used to. I mean, I think there's been cases before. John Barnes, I remember when he was caught out quite a few times, basically. Especially when the opposition team's kicking out from after a point, you can stand in certain bits that makes it look like there's not space there.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of that going on all the time with runners.
See, I like to think runners are all innocent. I'm doing this Sunday on game day. This Sunday on game day, we've got a sketch about runners. So I'd like to think that they're nice and innocent. I would love to see one though just be in the wrong position and then just lay down, pretend to be dead like an opossum.
Yeah, you could pretend to pull your calf or something if you suspect you're about to get into trouble.
That's a good idea. That's what a lot of soccer players do. If they do a bad kick, they immediately fall to the ground and start. They've cramped, they start stretching.
Well, I think. Do you think the runners have had their day?
Oh no! We need them. They're great. They're part of what we have. They look good in pink. This is what the sketch is all about.
Well, you're a defender.
Well, no, the sketch is actually with Stephen Hawking wants to get rid of them, so the AFL's selling them, so you can use them in your day-to-day life.
Right. Okay.
Check it out. Game day 7, 11, about 11:15.
I
watch the whole show. Watch it from 10. Sorry, I should do it.
Yeah, just turn in for Danny. Just set the Foxtel and don't have to watch it. The Swans have apparently they're saying that he was innocent, that it was just an innocent attempt rather than trying to influence the game. I mean, you would say that.
Yeah.
You're not going to go, yeah, you got us.
He
You
was
crazy.
terrible. No.
Cheeky. We've all just stood in the way sometimes in life.
Totally, yeah. And the runners are passionate about their club, so we need Francis here because he was a runner for the Bulldogs AFLW team.
He still is, isn't he?
No, he didn't do it this year.
No, he did it for the St Kilda Sharks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he moved over the
He
bloody
left.
turncoat.
Liz Cambridge, the Australian basketballer, she set a WNBA record this week. This would have got, if this had been Ben Simmons, it would have been front page of every paper.
Yes.
She ended the record books by scoring an all-time game high 53 points to lead the Dallas Wings to 104-87 victory over the New York Liberty.
And if you're not a basketball person, to explain a really simple way to work out if someone's played well in basketball is convert points to possessions. 53 possessions in one game, an AFL game. That's all you need. But yeah, 53 points is ridiculous. I think the record for men's is Wilt Chamberlain, who scored 100.
Yes.
But that was just a freaky game where everyone realised he was going to get the record after the first quarter and everyone just passed to him.
Yeah, just I read this morning and I just can't remember. I think the 51 points was the previous record that she beat.
Yeah.
So it was a big thing. She said she'd had a pretty emotional week last week, and I think I let it all out after the Seattle game, and I just wanted to start a new day, a new game. And she described the achievement as pretty big. It's a huge score. It must be weird to be that good at sport.
Yeah. Just go, I'm feeling a bit rough. I might just go set an all-time record.
Yeah,
at the
I've had a
highest
bad
level.
day, and if your teammates are going to try and annoy her every week now.
Oh yeah, God, they're gonna key her car. This is a bad
little
thing to
annoying
do.
things. We're out of milk, Liz. Sorry.
I think we should also draw attention to. I think the WNBA and a lot of women's sport has this. The most terrible nicknames in all of there's no animals. It's always just a concept. Dallas Wings or New York Liberty.
Do you think
Seattle
a lot of that
Storm.
came because a lot of the WNBA and it's the same in the NHL with some of the newer teams and the NBA too. If clubs were formed sort of in certain periods of time, they kind of have weirder names, like the Toronto Raptors, on the back of the Jurassic Park stuff isn't a great example of that.
That said,
and like the Phoenix Suns and the Miami Heat.
Yeah, and you go even old school, the Boston Red Sox, the New York Knickerbockers.
Yeah.
Named after clothes and undies as well. Yeah. But my 4-year-old chose his NBA team this week because
you let him choose.
I let him choose. Well, I'm a Knickerbockers fan,
so you're quite happy to let someone.
I didn't want to force that on him, and so I showed him all the logos, and he went Raptors in a second because he's a 4-year-old boy and saw a dinosaur and went, "That's my team."
Right.
So go. And then they traded their best player, so the McGinley NBA curse continues.
Yeah, but they got Leonard from San Antonio.
Yeah, sorry, you misinterpreted. I said I'm a Knicks fan. That means I don't care.
Right, okay.
But yeah,
so the Dallas Wings and the New York Liberty. Yeah, there are some terrible names that have gone around. Remember there was the Gold Coast Blaze in the NBL.
Yeah. What's the worst NBL name? Was it Sydney City Astronauts?
The Sydney
or West Adelaide Bearcats.
Yeah, that was a good one. There was one that was what was it? The Hobart City Casino something, or there was a weird one. The in NSL. Remember there was it the New Zealand Kings?
Oh no, that was A-League.
That's A-League. Auckland Kings, wasn't it?
I don't know. Kings
with a Z.
Football,
yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah,
that's what. There are just those names that you go. Well, here come the marketers were snorting some heavy coke when they came up with this one.
Well, no, they weren't. That's the problem. If they were on cocaine, then they would have felt some empathy. It's like when South Melbourne Hellas became South Melbourne Lakers for a couple of seasons.
Well, in the NBL, they're also talking about whether Melbourne get the next licence, and Tasmania's also in the mix. And I saw something on Twitter today about a potential name is the Southern Huskies.
Oh, for Tassie, yeah.
And I'm like... So the Hobart Hurricanes, Tasmania does not have hurricanes. Hurricanes are the northern hemisphere, and also they don't get cyclones either. But anyway, and now to my knowledge, and I'm happy to be corrected, Huskies do not live in Tasmania.
No, I don't think there's any Huskies in the southern hemisphere.
Exactly. So
then they're on brand.
What is it with Tasmania going? I mean, if you're bringing back a Tasmanian NBL team, how can it not be the Devils?
Well, exactly. It's not like a tainted
that was
brand
a good
or anything.
name. It was a good name at Lynx. What other countries or states have a devil as an actual animal that lives in their state.
An iconic animal that the whole world knows thanks to Looney Tunes.
That's right. Like, how can you not? The merchandising, the everything. It just makes way more sense than the Huskies.
And the Huskies, so you're naming it after the Minnesota Timberwolves. That franchise of strength right there. So I think Tassie, maybe this is going to be Tassie's thing. All teams will be named after things that aren't in our hemisphere.
Aren't in Tasmania.
So the footy team that will be the Tassie Santas.
I was going to say the AFL team will be called the Tasmanian Jobs. Makes a lot more sense. We're apparently getting to the point where the Australian and Philippines men's basketball team will find out their fate in the next day or so about their penalties.
Oh, that's exciting.
Are we getting excited about that? FIBA are about to announce them.
Secret.
Well, I think they start to announce the actual sanctions, don't they? Because you're going to notice if someone just never plays again.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, that would be fun. All right, yeah.
No, they've got to announce them. So there's going to be interesting because there's a few of the Philippines bench and some of the coaches and officials that are going to be in a bit of trouble too. Of course, we all know it was the Philippines' fault and the Boomers
Did
had
you watch
nothing
the
to do
end of
with
the
it.
game? Because all of the players, pretty much all but 3 of the Filipino players got ejected, and all but 4 of the Australian players. Oh no, there was maybe 5. So they had to play 5-3. And then the Filipino players didn't want to play, so they deliberately kept intentionally fouling it, so they get fouled out. But then it was down to literally 5 against 1.
Really?
It was awesome. And then he fouled out, so they had to forfeit the game. But it was so much fun watching professional basketball play 5-on-1. And the one scored a point at one stage, I think.
What?
Or it might have been when it was 2. But I was cheering for him.
God, you turncoat.
Oh, I know. 5-on-3.
Look how quickly you turned around. Round 18, starting on Friday. We don't have a Thursday night game for the first time in a long time.
Hey, can I just, before we do this, I was particularly proud of one joke I wrote that I thought I'm going to do that on our podcast, but then we haven't done it for ages. Our podcast, just how hypocritical.
I was about to say, this is a joke from like 1998.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's about the gas crisis. I was just very. I thought Lucy Zelich, that pronunciation scandal, that was a bit hypocritical. I thought all of that. She says that she pronounces the players' names in the way that they are pronounced in their native homeland. I watched England v Sweden. She never referred to him as Harry Kane.
I think you did this on the podcast.
Oh, did I? Bugger. I was so proud of it. I've only done it on stage like 3 times.
No, you did it.
That's a good joke.
You did it on the podcast the last time we were on together.
Well, I don't get sleep because I have children. Anyway, folks, it's a good joke, isn't it? Tweet me. Tell me how much you enjoyed it the second time.
It's one of those ones that gets better the second time.
I reckon it does. Imagine next week when I do it the third time.
You're going to do it every single... Well, let's make it a segment.
This sounds fun.
Now, we haven't got a Thursday night game, which...
yes, good.
You don't like the Thursday night game?
No, it spreads it out too much.
So I both... Because I have to preview... I write the review, I finish the review of the round, and then it feels like I'm straight away starting to write the preview. So I enjoy the extra day. But when it comes to Thursday, and then I suddenly remember, there's footy on tonight.
Yeah, that's good.
I kind of always like that moment. you know?
Look, so we've got Friday night, 2 Saturday afternoons, Twilight Saturday, and then the 2 Saturday night games, and then 3... That's just good. That means there's no point where I don't have footy on the weekend.
Yeah, no, it is good when it's like this. So,
although Brisbane v Adelaide and Geelong v Melbourne, the Saturday night games, starting at the same time. I don't like that. I like the staggered start.
That you can flick between the two. So there's St Kilda versus Richmond on Friday night.
Yep.
This is at Etihad Stadium. This is one where
Are you sure they're not moving it to the MCG to cater for all the big crowd that's going to show up, and also just to help Richmond?
Well, the thing about you can't. There's been a lot of criticism of Friday night football scheduling this year.
Yeah,
you can't. I've got no problem with this because at the time we didn't know. At the time the schedule was done, St Kilda were looking like potentially being a finals.
I never
but that was the general consensus. Well, unlike having Carlton on, which made no sense ever.
Baffling.
St Kilda versus Richmond at Etihad Stadium. Richmond coming off a loss to the Giants last week by 2 points. I think Richmond are going to win that.
Yeah.
I just don't think St Kilda have the skills to get past Richmond's press up the field.
No,
So.
and Richmond can win at Docklands. They beat the Swans there. So
Yeah.
it's fine.
In Docklands, I actually think works all right for Richmond. It's weird their interstate record.
It is odd. They're playing Gold Coast as their final one for the year, so they should get a win.
They'll win that. We've got Collingwood versus North Melbourne at the MCG.
That'll be a great game.
That'll be good. I thought Collingwood was starting to... I thought Mason Cox being out last week was their big problem. And finally having Dunn and Treloar out, having them out for a few weeks, their replacements aren't as consistent.
Yeah.
It becomes a problem. So be interesting to see go. I'm really not sure who to tip there.
I'll go North because I've sort of just... They've been my... I've sort of backed them from early on in the season. They're like, North are good. They've
got to win this to stay in the finals race.
And North
I think Collingwood are better on the G.
North tend to beat Collingwood historically. In my life, I think I've seen North beat Collingwood a lot. So North for me.
Sydney play the Gold Coast at the SCG. Now, Sydney have not been good at the SCG this year, and this is Stewie Dew returning to Sydney, probably thinking, why did I ever leave? There's a lot of talk about Gold Coast. There being some announcement about Tom Lynch leaving sooner rather than later because he's not going to play again at the club. Yeah. So he doesn't sort of have to wait till the end of the year anymore, whether that happens or not. I can't see the Gold Coast winning that. In fact, I struggle to see where the Gold Coast are going to win another game this year because they have just completely dropped off the cliff. And there's even talk of Stephen May potentially not staying. He says he's committed to the club at the moment. That never sounds... You know why that doesn't sound good?
You and I are going to play for the Suns next year.
Imagine you said that to your partner. I am committed to you at the moment. Why is that not a lovely thing to say?
Yeah. It's
like adding at the moment to anything.
Well, my agent just feels he can get me a better wife, so...
I'm completely in love with you at the moment.
Yeah.
Then we've got Essendon Freo. Let's hope that's not like last week, Freo's game against Port.
Oh man, no goals in the second quarter. That's where all of Australia, was united in thinking their app was broken because no one was actually watching Freo Port.
I had that on one screen, and what was the other one? The
Collingwood West Coast.
No, it was the one before that. North
Sydney, of course,
which was a much better game. Yeah. So I had that on the big TV, and then on my tablet I had the Freo Port game, and it was like watching two completely different sports. You're just going, what is going on there? It was like terrible. This is why I think don't bring in zones or sack Ross Lyon. Send a message that style of play will not be accepted. Yep. You know, shoot one, educate 1,000. I think Essendon are going to win that one.
I too. Yep.
Brisbane Adelaide. Brisbane won 3 in a row.
Yeah, this should be a good game as well. I think Adelaide will get over the top because I think Rory Sloane re-signing will go far in fixing a lot of the problems Adelaide have had internally.
Yeah. Well, they've all committed now to showing up too. Now that Rory has,
and they've
got Betts back, and they've got some of their injuries are back. I'm not writing Brisbane off, but I do think they've won 3 in a row. Up there is the one thing that makes me. I'm tempted to tip Brisbane, but I think Adelaide probably will get it done. Geelong play Melbourne. Huge out for Melbourne with Michael Hibberd not playing. Mm-hmm. Melbourne have done all right down at Geelong and against Geelong, although earlier in the year they got they just lost to them by a couple of points, I think it was at the start of the year. So
when Gawn missed the goal. That was round 1.
So who knows? I mean, I could see Melbourne winning down there, but Geelong just do my head in trying to tip Geelong.
Yeah, they're the team that ruins your tips this year. Yeah. They're your Freo.
They're what North used to be too. Yeah, North are doing that a bit this year too. It's just they're being more positive.
Yeah.
Give me Carlton every day. Who are you tipping in that one?
I'll go Geelong just because I actually think Melbourne will win. That's when Melbourne upset me and Geelong ruined everything. So yeah, I'll tip Geelong, but I think Melbourne will win.
Right. Carlton Hawthorn.
Yep, that's on. Next.
Hawthorn are going to win that one.
Of course.
Hawthorn have to win that one. But I think after last week, they've really shot themselves in the foot. West Coast and the Bulldogs.
Yes, I'll be there. Very excited to watch the Bulldogs lose in a whole new stadium.
You'll be thrilled that they've got Darling back and...
Yes, just so stoked.
And
Boyd's
Kennedy.
back for us.
Oh, Is he still playing?
Tom Boyd.
How's his
he didn't play
season?
last
How's
week.
his season been?
Yeah, he's been in the ruck. I think he's done really well. Tom Boyd is my. I feel very protective of Tom Boyd.
Yeah.
I've almost gotten into fist fights with certain people over anyone bags. He's awesome. He's awesome. He's barely 22. His best years are still in front of him.
Josh
Shacky
is
He played
already
really
a
well.
better key forward than him, though.
Well, that's because Boyd isn't being played as a key forward.
But even when Boyd was played as a key forward.
I disagree. The last time Boyd was properly played as a key forward, what was that? Was that grand final day in 2016? Yeah, he did all right.
I'm still not sure about him. The jury's still out with me on him.
Fine. No,
But I
think
take
he's
your
awesome.
point, he's only 22.
Yeah.
And he's kind of already delivered your premiership,
Yes.
so who's going to care? I think the Eagles are going to win that one. I think Eagles look amazing now with their forwards all back, so that's going to be interesting how they go for the rest of the year. Port Adelaide take on Greater Western Sydney after Port's lost last week.
Yeah, this will be a good game.
That's suddenly a big game for them.
Yeah. I look forward to
this
watching
is
this
a hard
while I'm
week.
sitting watching the Bulldogs lose. I'll watch
On
this
your
on my
phone.
phone.
This is a hard week to tip.
It is. It's actually
I'm
quite
looking at this,
even.
and there's about five games that are genuinely like. If you look through it, Collingwood North is difficult.
Yep.
Brisbane Adelaide is actually difficult, I reckon. Geelong Melbourne's difficult. West Coast Bulldogs, not
No,
really.
that's not difficult. Come on.
Port GWS. So there's about 4 games
It's
that
not
are
difficult.
really
The Dogs are
good
going to
games.
win by 10 goals.
Jeez. On that note,
Wouldn't it be great if Carlton beat Hawthorn? Wouldn't that be great?
oh yeah. Well, if anyone beat Hawthorn.
No, but especially Carlton. That would be. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, I feel that now, but then when I say happy Carlton people, I feel bad. So
Yeah, that's true. But they won't be that happy. They'll just be a little bit happy. And anyway. Hey, big shout out to if anyone with the World Cup over, if anyone's collecting the Panini World Cup stickers, my son needs to swap. A great bloke called Chris, who's a fan of listens to this podcast, gave us a whole bunch of his doubles, and I told him I'd give him a shout out. So, Chris, you're a legend. Thank you.
you're just thanking Chris.
I'm thanking Chris, but if anyone else has doubles,
I thought you were calling for a swap.
Yeah. If anyone wants to do swaps, hit me up on socials.
Right.
Yep.
This is not the platform for this sort of message.
Yeah, well, too bad. What are you going to do? Actually,
Hey, and
edit
if
the
anyone
podcast?
wants to send me free stuff,
Yeah, no, we're swapping.
Siri just responded to me. Weird. Yeah, no, that's good. So let's change this to trading stickers.
To a trading post. That's a great idea. Let's sell some of your junk in here.
So you're off to what's your next gig?
Perth tomorrow.
Perth tomorrow. All right, my next one's August 4th in Hobart. So Hobart people, come on down, get a ticket. I'll put the link to both those things on in the show notes, and we will see you next week.